So, a very good afternoon to all of you. This is Lisa Ware, Senior Group Leader. I am muting everybody, okay, because I've got lots to get through. And this is being recorded because I believe of anything that you could possibly hear, this is the stuff that everybody needs. Because this business is a communication and rapport building business. It's relationships. And from little people, we were told don't talk to strangers, weren't we? What useful information in the world that was, wasn't it? Yeah, we know that we shouldn't talk to strangers, but when we get older, if we can't do that, we have got some serious problems in business, especially if you join a network marketing business. So it's actually something that is really got to be done. So what I am talking about is the whole appointment making process. Now, I am aiming it at new people, but I want you to realize that no matter where you are in the business, all the time new things are coming in. True, we have products, services that change, evolve, which is really excellent because we certainly don't want to be static. Are you aware if you are static and nothing's happening, it doesn't mean you're static. It means you're going backwards. All right. So you have to be proactive. You can't kind of be on a wish and a prayer and hope things will just happen and that some wonderful lead will drop in your box. It won't, I promise you. You've got to be proactive and you've got to be doing. And part of that is to quote Claire Hingot, if your mouth is shut, your business is closed. All right, which is very, very true. Very true. However, what we don't want to be is verbose or rude, and we don't want to sell. Did you know that we shouldn't sell? Are you aware of that? Are you aware that most people don't like to be sold to, especially friends and family? In fact, I'd say anybody. I'd say neighbours, colleagues. Who, if you think about it, aren't we all the same? Come on. If you go into a shop, are you like me? If that assistant comes and pounces on me, is there anything I can help you with, madam? They've lost me. I will invariably walk out the shop. But if they allow me to browse, and then after a while, I might go over to them and say, can you help me? Now that's different, isn't it? Because I'm asking for help. Now, I want you to translate that into this, because wouldn't you say that that's the same thing? It is, isn't it? If you think about it, how many people want to be told that they've missed out on something better than what they've already found? Are we all aware that everyone's got an ego? And some have got bigger ones than others. I am on about egos, by the way. All right. That some people just do not like it if we show them something that is far superior in quality, better customer service, simpler billing, and guess what? Better value. You would think if they had any of that kind of stuff up there that was logical, you'd think they'd go, oh, wonderful, marvellous. But how many people turn round? No, thank you. They dismiss something before they know what they're dismissing. Is that true? Yeah. In fact, today, when we were putting out these flyers in a street, um, there was one house. I went up to the door and the door opened and she went, no, thank you. And I looked at her and I thought, well, do you know what? You haven't even got a clue who I am. I certainly wasn't dressed in UW. I thought I could have been anybody that came up. I might have been that person. What's it called? Postcode lottery that was coming up to tell her she'd won a fortune. But she said, no, thank you. And I just looked at her and I went, I thought, your loss. And I walked on. Now, I didn't make a sarky comment because actually, will that actually profit any good? No, no, not at all. Because there may be someone in her future, near future, that decides to take utility warehouse and this person could be a referral. And if she's already had a bad experience with somebody, then that wouldn't bode well. So we have to really think about how we behave and how we do things. All right. So in the beginning, what we must all do is start off with people that know, like, and trust us. People that we value each other's opinion. Right. I'm going to get to basics here. The psychology that will then make sense why we do what we do. Okay. Would you say that friends become friends because they have shared values? Yeah. We tend to be with people that we share the same values. It's quite hard to be with people that we don't. We will buffer, won't we? There'll be confrontation when we find that our core values differ. And that's possibly why a lot of families get on, and because they share the same values. Now, I can't say it's the same for every family. Um, there are some people in my family that I don't share the same values, and that's why possibly we're not friends. Are you aware that you can have blood relatives and you may be siblings, but you share totally different values in life? And that's why you probably find you spar. So all that, now put that into play with what's going to happen. We've got to be able to hit the part of their brain that is going to go, I align with that. Right, let's give you a question. It's a rhetorical question. If I said to you, so what do you think of the UK economy at the moment? Well, I'm seeing some really down faces. I think most people would come back. Would you say they would come back with a pretty negative answer? Yeah. But now, if I put to you, what do you like best about the UK economy at the moment? Now, that requires them to engage and think, and they've got to come back with a positive answer. So, what we're out to do is get positive retorts, replies. We want positivity. So we've got to go in there with the right kind of questions to get the right responses. If I said to somebody, are you free next week? I promise you, most people will go, no, I'm really busy. Whereas if I said to someone, oh, I'm looking at my diary, you told me that you work full time. I'm available tomorrow evening or Friday evening. Which of those is any good to you? Do you know what it does? It instantly makes them think, oh, hang on a minute. I better have a look at my diary or I better look at my calendar. And it makes them think. And you have much more chance of getting an appointment in place by doing what we call the alternative close. All right. So we have to be careful how we ask questions to get the responses. So when the beginning, when we're trying to make appointments, it's no good asking somebody if they're free. I promise you, everybody will say no. Would you agree that everybody's busy? It's just that some people's busyness is different to others. Isn't it fascinating? I find this a lot. The busier the person, the more they seem to be able to find time to do something. Now, that's a fascinating thing, but it's the truth. I find people that aren't working very often will say they're mega busy. Do you know what they're doing? They're just filling it with things they like doing now. Have you ever met anyone that's retired and they said, oh, I'm busier than I ever used to be? Yeah, because they're filling it with actually often nicer things. When they worked full time, or maybe two or three jobs, the time that was outside of that was possibly filled with other necessity things. But the interesting thing is, people that make this really work in this business are listening to, we call them coachable people, people that don't just reactively listen, they apply the instruction that we're giving them that works. They don't go off and say, well, I know she said this, but I will do this. Because I promise you, if you try to reinvent the wheel, it doesn't work. Now, there is a proven system for getting appointments and it works. And yet, I tell you what, I am absolutely gobsmacked at how many people will not follow it. It is fascinating. They actually do believe they know better. So let's put it to you in another way. If you were to start your very first driving lessons, can you remember back to that? Yeah. When the driving instructor on the very first lesson, and I remember it so well, said to me, right, in the driving seat, Lisa. And I remember thinking, hey, but I don't know how to drive. And I said that to him. I said, I don't know how to drive. He said, no, I'm going to teach you. Because he said all the reading and all the role play in the world isn't going to muster it. You've actually got to be shown. So in the beginning, people need to be shown. And I'm sorry, but role play does not work. It has to be live. It has to be real. So what we're looking for in the beginning are human guinea pigs. Now, I know the company doesn't say that. That's a Lisa Ware phrase, but it's true. A nice human guinea pig. Somebody that knows, likes, trusts us and is willing to give us about 20 minutes to half an hour of our time. Okay. If nobody will do that, oh gosh, you have to look at yourself and say, how do I appear to other people? Am I a Billy No Mates? Is it that I've made myself unlikable? Now, I'm sorry, but I know these things are hard, but it's the truth. You've got to say to yourself, what was it Jim Rowan says? Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. So maybe we have to look at ourselves, and a bit of personal development is important. Okay. So what we're going to do is I want you now on your piece of paper, I want you to draw, this is going to sound funny, I want you to do an ellipse, a horizontal ellipse. And from it, I want you to draw 3 lines, evenly spaced. So one line is at one side of the ellipse, one line is at the other, and the other one is in the middle, coming down. And it will look like a stool. Now, when there is 3 legs, we'll call those legs beliefs. This is beliefs and understandings. It could be knowledge and skills. It could be all of them. If you only had 3 and somebody knocks you down, so knock one of those legs off, what happens to the stool? It topples over. Yes, Ros. It topples over. And this is the same for us. If we don't have much belief and we get a knockback, invariably, do you know what? This is why so many people give up in the early days. I sent out a little video. I think it was either yesterday or the day before. Forgive me. It was Claire Hingott. She and her team had hit 12,000 group customers. And she did a little 4 minutes, didn't she? And I thought it was so wonderful. I thought I'd send it out. I hope everybody took on board that the first 6 people she spoke to all basically dobbed her out. In fact, she said she didn't do anything very much, did she, for about 6 months. Now, please don't follow that, okay? It doesn't mean I don't want you to do anything for 6 months, okay? But what I'm trying to say is, in the beginning, it doesn't always go right. Is that true? It didn't go right for me, I promise you, okay? And I still have times when it doesn't go right. So let's take that on board. Now, on your piece of paper, I want you to draw another ellipse, same size, But now I want you to put as many legs coming down from it as you possibly can. If you can manage to put about sort of 20, 30 legs on it, you're good. Now, just imagine those 20, 30 legs are skills, belief, knowledge, understanding. Yeah. Now, if someone comes along and says no or whatever, do you think you care? Will the stool topple over? No, it won't. I promise you, I've probably got somewhere in the region of about, I'd say off the top of my head, 800 good, strong legs. Belief, conviction, understanding, skills. I know this works. Despite the naysayers, despite the miserable people, despite the people that will say no and dismiss something before they even know what they're dismissing. Do you think they're clever when they do that? I don't at all. In fact, inquiry and learning is very important. So I'm now going to hit my thing and I'm going to share a wonderful script. And I think you can all see it. Okay. So this is within your partner portal under Fast Start Plan, and it's there. And this is how we all begin, and this is what we should do. And even as time goes on, it still has validity. Can you see there are some highlighted sentences? Okay, gonna talk about this. So look, let's give you the psychology. This actually is my friend Danielle Bennett. Her and her other half, Rob Evans, they've now, in fact, today is his very last day as a custody sergeant in the Met Police. He's saying goodbye and retiring early because Utility Warehouse has managed to do it for him. What is it? Hannah Leaning said at the big get together. If you haven't watched it, if you wasn't there, make sure you watch a follow up. In fact, I think it was one of the best things she said. If you don't decide to do something a bit out of the ordinary or the extraordinary, you have to settle for the ordinary. And Rob could have settled for the ordinary and had a whole number of years left having to work in something he began to hate. Doesn't mean everybody hates their job, but he couldn't wait to get out. He said in the end he started to feel a fraud. It didn't sit. So I'm very pleased for them. But I promise you this little script is Danielle's. And Danielle is a teacher. So let's have a look at it. Hi, Sarah. By the way, this is her ringing. I hope you and the family are well. Looks like you had a great time in Spain. Now, this is called a little bit of chit chat. Okay. If you ring somebody up that you know, you wouldn't go straight in there like a bull in the china shop, would you? You just wouldn't. You would say something. But here is the key stuff. I'm just after a bit of a favour. Now, look, guys, if you ring somebody that you know and you're supposedly friends or colleagues or family, if you ask someone for a bit of a favour, if they're a decent sort of person, they generally will do it. Okay. As you know, she says, I'm a teacher. Now, you can say, as you know, Ros would say, I used to be an estate agent. Yeah. Sean Moore, I can see sat there. I used to be in engineering. It could be anything, right? So this can be adapted for you. Now she says something about what she loves. What I love about it is helping people. Okay. And I expect Ros used to enjoy her days as a estate agent helping folk. In fact, most people, if they've got the kind of work that helps other people, it's really nice, isn't it? It makes you feel good. Yeah. However, she says, now here's the crux. However, the problem is, so now what you do is you impart with them what is the problem. The problem is Since having children, the long hours aren't working for me. Do you know most teachers, after a while, they'll tell you as soon as they have their own family, all of a sudden they start to feel a little bit resentful that all their time and energy, most of their hours, are spent with other people's children, helping them and not their own. And that's what tends to happen. And for many teachers these days, they're not very happy with the curriculum they're having to deliver. And there's many other factors, they tell me. But she says the problem is having children, the long hours are not working. I found an opportunity. Now, you could say, I found a venture. I found a business. I found a way. All right. It's got to be your kind of words. Although I would say to you very much, if you learn something enough, they become your words. Okay. So I found an opportunity that's going to enable me to spend more time with my family and go part-time to cover the loss of income. Now, she's not saying, I want to bleed you dry. I'm going to sell you gas and electric. And I want you to sit down and I want to flog you, broadband or whatever. She's not saying any of that at all. She's saying she's giving her why. She's giving her reasons. Do you know this to be true? But it is. There are more people that will do something to help you rather than help themselves. That's weird, but true. Okay. Now, she says, as part of my training, I just need to show some friends and family what I'm doing. It's working with a company that guarantees to help people save money on their household bills. So this is no cloak and dagger, big secret. She's coming out with it. I just need 20 minutes on a video call with my mentor. You could say my coach. Yeah. It may even save you some money, but if not, that's okay. As I'd really value your feedback, or I'd value your opinion, and it will help me with my training. Would you do that for me? Now, look, I don't need to send you this. I have done in the past. It's on your partner portal. It's under the Fast Start plan. But what I want you to see is this script. I'm promising you, this is what I used when I started 23 years ago. This was it. I remember the very first call. I'm going to stop the share and say to you, I remember the very first call I ever made. Now, I had been in business to business and it was advertising, selling leaflet distribution through the local rags. They're all over the UK. Okay. Big company called NewsQuest, part of the second largest company in the world. And that's what I did. And I had hundreds of contacts, but business to business. Not all of them bought from me. Okay. Some of them I never ever did get them. But I'm going to tell you this, the people that I built up a friendship with, note the word, a friendship, they weren't just kind of business associates. They were people that we found we had the same values. Yeah. And I remember ringing my friend Jill, and I remember calling her and saying, Jill, it's Lisa. Oh, yeah. She said, how are you doing? I said, Jill, listen, you know, I've been deeply unhappy in my work and I've been looking for a way out and I think I found it. And before I'm let loose on the public, I've got to have a bit of practice. I need some training. Listen, you're somebody that I really value the opinion of. You are so clever in business. Can I run this by you? I need some practice. She said, yeah, sure. I said, I'm looking at my diary. Obviously, it's got to be in the evening because I work in the day. Jill, are you available, say Thursday or Friday? Can I make it just after dinner and pop round? And I remember her saying, yeah, I'll put the kettle on. Now, in those days, we didn't have a lovely little presentation on a I had a little booklet that I used to kind of read, and I can see Roz nodding. But I went through it and I remember as we sat down together, I said, right, Jill, I said, don't laugh. I said, give me the time of day. I said, do me a favor, just listen, because I really am going to ask for your feedback. Now, by making it authentic, hear that word authentic. You can't be false with this stuff. I was looking for her feedback. I said, I'd value your feedback because before I'm let loose out there on the public, I said, I've got to know that what I'm saying is okay. And you might tell me otherwise. So I went through it and I got to the end and I said, I said, how did I do? What did you like best? And I said it all in one. How did I do? What did you like best? And do you know what her response was? She said, let me get this straight. She said, you're going to go out there and save people on energy and telephone calls. But you're looking at me for just practice. Don't I get can I have this? And I turned to her and I said, well, I didn't want to assume. I said, I didn't want to take advantage and assume that you wanted it. And she went, of course I bloody want it, woman. She said, sign me up. Now, that is absolutely true. Jill is a partner in my business. I placed her and she is a partner, and that is absolutely true. She ran a cleaning company and I used to put her leaflet distribution out. Now, look, can you hear that what I said to her was really no different to what is now? It's about asking a favour. It's about that you need some practice. Look, guys, you're all seasoned here, but you can say, look, the company's just brought in some new stuff, and I've come back to you because I think I probably might have messed it all up a while ago. But can I show you the new stuff? Can I have some practice? Those words, I promise you, work. Okay. Anything else, if you detract and do anything else, it isn't going to happen. It just isn't. Now, as you become seasoned, and obviously, like we we reach out, don't we, to all sorts of people. But let me give you this. I can't believe it's 5 years ago. Oh my God, it's 5 years ago tomorrow. 5 years ago tomorrow, we moved here. Time flies. Wow. And I was new to the area. And I remember thinking, happy days. And so it was like out and about. I knew I couldn't just go up to total strangers. And so I knew that our first few months were going to be about building relationships in our community, getting to know folk and things like that. Just and what I've learned in the countryside is people are far friendlier than they are in the towns. People can be all live on top of each other and nobody even speaks to each other where I used to live in Lower Parkston. And then I come out here and like a neighbour could be a quarter of a mile away, but they all seem to want to, people stop and talk. So what we did for a while was that I just established that we were here and I'd say, oh, I've got chickens and I'm the one that's selling the eggs and things like that. Because what you've got to do is build it up. Now, now I'm here and I'm established. I'm putting out flyers and then I'm going to be going back and I'm going to be saying, um, hold it up. This came to you. And did you have a chance to look at it? Things like that. You know, the stuff that's on the neighbour letters, there's all sorts of things we can do, but the basics are still there because what I still want is when I'm reaching to someone, I'm still saying, look, let me show you all the facts and information because you can make a proper informed decision. And also, I'd really value your feedback. So there's so many times that the same basic words that are there are there. So unmute yourself and I'd like some questions. All right, just a quick, anyone got some quick questions? You can all physically unmute yourselves. Any quick questions in any of that? Yes, Roz.
Lisa, you told me you delivered leaflets. Fantastic. Um, it can't be. offering 6 months for free because you don't have city fibre or anything around your way. How do you go in? What are you wanting to show them?
Um, there is a flyer which the other week I said I think is amazing, and I bought 1,000 of them, and that's what we're putting out because
Ah,
it's got
okay.
all the basics on the back.
Yeah.
Now, quite rightly, there is a clause in there, it's the get out of jail free card because it if it's in your area, well, it's not my fault that it's not in their area, but it could be in someone else's area. But I do know that what we can do where we're going, there is fibre to the premises through OpenReach. So
Okay.
that's
You
the
can do that.
alternative. But of course, a new customer, as you know, they can still have the £5 Sims and the unlimited. And then the second ones are free for 6 months, aren't they? So they
Yeah.
can still have all of that. They listen, a brand new customer. And by the way, we're only hitting homeowners. There's no way I'm going for any tenants, okay? Um, all of them have got up to £150 that can come off what could be their gas and electric for
Yeah.
whatever way you play it. So all that is, all it is a lead in. It's just a lead in. That's all it is.
Yeah. And do you go back to those doors that you've put leaflets in, or do you just put leaflets out?
Sometimes I put them out for pure name awareness. And
Yeah.
by the way, guys, if I've sort of told you what I used to do, I was in leaflet distribution. I was that person that actually helped companies produce and everything. It is a known fact, right? This is stats. If you're lucky from a good quality message, you will get a 1% return if you
Mm.
just put them out. So for every 100, if you get a call, that's about right. If you were to get more, you are doing well. So you have to say to yourself, how do I get more? Well, the reality is you've got to go back
Mm.
because you've now got to build rapport. By the way, you cannot go back to people that have got on the door. No hawkers, sellers, and you cannot do that. All right. But what you can do, and which I think I'm going to go and do because I'm very confident about it, I'm going to have a little clipboard with my bill on it. I'm going to have a copy of the flyer and I'm going to knock their door, hold it up and say, did you get to receive this? Did you get to read it? No, you didn't. Oh, well, look, let me show you what it's about. And then straight away, I'm just going to show them my bill and say, look, I've been with them 23 years. I absolutely love it. Moved here 5 years ago. All my neighbours love it too. And I'm just sharing it out with the wider community. Would you be interested in having an apples for apples comparison? Hey presto, that's it. If they
Perfect.
say no, they say no. You know,
Okay.
when you go and have a meal and you've had your main course, and then the waitress comes back immediately, doesn't she? And she puts down, would you like dessert? We don't have a, we don't have a pity. She don't have a pity party, does she? When everyone says, oh, I'm too full, I don't want a dessert. That's all it is. That's how you have to treat it.
Mm.
But
Thank you.
can you understand that that script is the basics of everything? Those words are gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
We wouldn't tell the driving instructor, no, 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 I'm not doing it the way you said. I'll do it this way. There's no way you do that. So why do we believe we should change what works?
Mm.
Does anybody think I say anything extra magical? Because I don't. I promise you. I honestly do keep to the script. So look, next week I'm going to go into some delving in some deeper stuff, psychology and prospecting, because this is the stuff we need. And I'm going to hold it there because I've got a 6 o'clock also leader call, and I've got to try and get a dinner done in between. So lovely to see you all, and it
Well,
will go out tonight. All right,
Thank you.
thank
Lisa.
you. Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.